Welcome back, you lovely people, to Calland on Cars, the channel that hopefully allows other afflicted petrol heads to turn to their long-suffering other halves and say, see, I'm not as bad as him. And today I'm with my favourite thing in the whole world, which is a cheap, and it was cheap, 911, the 997. I think one of the greatest Porsches, as small and as cute and as pretty as the air-cooled 911s, as capable and as usable as the later 991 and 992, but much smaller, and as I've already said, much cheaper. Now this is a car that we've bought for the channel for the grand sum of £14,000. But is it any good? Now it's a decent little car, this one, I have to say. It was very good value for money. It's got a wonderful history. It was owned by an elderly gentleman who has treated it like a member of the family. But I've bought it for Mrs. Cowland, and because I've got my wife and quite potentially at least one or two of my daughters in the car at any one time, I want it to be right. So I need to get it serviced. Now there's lots of wonderful specialists out here, but the keen-eyed amongst you will have already noticed I'm at Porsche Centre Nottingham. So why have I done that, you ask? Because Porsche centres are expensive, aren't they? Well, they are a bit more than a specialist. Factory-trained technicians often are, and this all has to be paid for. But here's the thing. The 997.1 has now entered into the classic canon of Porsche ownership. In other words, these cars are treated, quite rightly, as classic cars. And if you have one, you can bring it back to your OPC, your official Porsche centre, and they won't charge you anything like the hourly rate or the parts prices that they should. And that's what today's all about. Being honest, I think most Porsche enthusiasts with older cars would love to take their car back to the main dealer, but what's putting them off is probably cost. The cost of the labour and the cost of the parts. But that's not the case. Because Porsche aren't silly, they know that if they can get you through the door, even with an older car, once you're in there, you're going to find something else that you like. And the case in point is the Porsche Nottingham showroom, which has been beautifully merchandised, and in terms of the stock that they've chosen, is absolutely exemplary. PTS coloured 911s with all the right spec, including that wonderful Carrera manual, Weissach RS, everything you might ever want. So even if you're coming in a car worth £14,000 like mine, you might be tempted to buy something more expensive while you're there. And of course, even if you don't want a car, chances are you'll buy something a little bit more affordable. Apparel, a souvenir, your next coffee cup, even an umbrella. There's something for every price point, whether it's a keyring, a cap, or a model car. It's a very clever way of endearing you to the brand and starting a conversation. And if the new cars aren't for you, just step outside. There's a world of approved used cars. And they are very tempting indeed. Porsche knows its customers. It knows if it can get them to just be tempted to come in on a bit of a deal, there's something else it's going to be able to sell them. This place is impossible to keep your wallet shut. And it really is a deal too. In the case of Porsche Nottingham, your labour rate is less than half of what it would be for a normal car. And it starts here in these appraisal bays where you get to sit with your car and find out exactly what work you need and then what it's going to cost. My technician for today was a wonderful guy called Ashley. One of the things I've always liked about taking my car to specialists is the fact that usually they'll let you come and sit in the workshop with them. They'll let you have a look underneath the car, have a poke and a prod with the technician. They're a bit more informal. But what's really clever about this new Porsche setup, these appraisal bays allow you to sit down with your technician and go through all in detail with that one-to-one service. It's all very relaxed and very laid back. And it feels just like the best bits of going to a specialist, but you're clearly getting all the real benefits of going to a main dealer. So time for the moment of truth. Have I bought a peach or a lemon? It was also my first chance to have a proper look underneath the car. Now, I'd seen the history, and the history really was very good, with a lot of specialists and clearly a lot of patent and non-genuine parts. But it'd be good to hear from an accomplished technician like Ashley, what was it like? Oh, dodgy ones.
Yeah, the cross drills are the wrong way, if that makes sense. No, not the wrong way. They're just yeah, they are slightly the wrong way. So yeah, they're non-genuine discs.
Some cars are maintained regardless of cost. Some cars are maintained down to price. This car's weird because it's a bit of a mixture of both. Ashley's going to maintain a perfect record of everything he does to give me a full report at the end of the process. So far, I'm loving it very much.
So yeah, I've just done the tyre tread depths. So I'm just jotting down the tyre sizes now, and then we'll have a look at the brakes. Okay, yeah, so they're measuring at 10 mil thick, so they've got 8 millimeters of recommended wear left. Yeah, and it's exactly the same at the back, so they're 10 mil again, so they've got 8 millimeters of recommended wear left.
Chunky monkeys. And if you want to, this preliminary check could be your entire visit. I think this would make a superb pre-sales check on a used car if you're looking to buy one.
Yeah, I'm just going to give the suspension just a quick visual inspection, just to see if there's anything untoward that we can make you aware of. Everything looks good on that corner.
What do you think of it so far? Because the brakes have been all right, the tyres are all right.
Yeah.
The old boy that I bought it off looked like he was spending a few quid. Is that how it's coming across?
Yeah, it does look that way. I think it's just going to be just general maintenance stuff and general wear and tear items that you're probably looking at today. So as we can see here, it's had a new lower arm, which you've probably seen on the invoices. And then the same on this side as well. You can see here that this has been replaced.
God bless you, lovely old man that had it.
Yeah, looking at the exhaust, as you can see here, these fixings here are very corroded, which we'll probably recommend doing those. And yeah, it's going to be the same on this side. And it looks as though someone's tried to weld it together there for some reason. Not sure as to why.
That is about as good as my welding.
Yeah, mine wouldn't be too much better either as well.
It looks like I've done it. It wasn't me, by the way.
No.
It's very much to my standards.
Yeah. You can probably see just here, there's a very slight oil leak here coming from this cam cover.
It's not an oil leak, that's sweating power.
Yeah. Which we'll probably be able to see a little bit better once it's on the ramp and the wheels are hanging free.
Self-undersealing, I like that.
And there's a very slight misting that I noticed here from the gearbox as well. From the underside here.
Yeah, it's a little bit sweaty, isn't it?
Yeah. And then this on the tray's broken as well. So yeah, we'll have a good look at that when it's in the workshop. Okay, just quickly, I've just noted down that the coolant pipe here is expanding out and splitting. So to replace this, as this coolant pipe here runs along the chassis leg up to the top of on the top of the engine, just up there, it will be an engine out job to fully replace it.
And is that sort of a sooner rather than later job, would you say?
I would recommend it, yes.
Right. Better start saving up for that. And I guess if that goes, that's coolant everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's end of play.
Yep. So yeah, with this oil leak, what we would normally do is we would fully clean all the excessive oil off that's been leaking out. We would then put some white powder coat over the parts where we suspect it's coming from. We would then either road test the car, or we would ask the customer to drive it for a certain distance, and then we'd invite them back in just to see, and then we can correctly diagnose the root cause of the problem.
Well, apart from the fact that we're going to have to take the engine out at some point in the fairly near future, that looks all pretty good. Good tyres, good brakes, suspension's in good order. And as you can see from the numbers that Ashley's writing down now, she really is a lovely old bus. Well, pretty good for 21 years old anyway. And I was expecting to have a bit of pain, but it's time to go from the appraisal bay into the main workshop. And what was really interesting for me was the exact mix of models in the workshop, as well as my classic 997. You've got sports stuff, SUVs, EVs, a little bit of everything. Just shows the diversity of the Porsche clientele, doesn't it really? And every car in the workshop stays on charge for its entire time in its bay to make sure if you're leaving doors open, you won't flatten the battery. Now, we all know I have many faults, but what about the car, Ashley?
So I'm just plugging our diagnostic tester on it now, just to see if there's any electrical faults, or if there's any other faults that maybe the computers have brought up.
Can you see if Mrs. Callan's been speeding at outrageous speed?
No comment. Oh, so the little indicators here show that control unit does actually have a fault, so we'll go in there and see what.
The CD auto changer is broken, no! It's terminal.
So yeah.
It's got loads of faults, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that might just be because the previous owner hasn't had the ability to clear them down?
Yeah, maybe. So what we could do, for instance, is we can go a little bit further in to a specific fault, and then sometimes it does give you a date and a timestamp as to when it did happen.
Are these all recorded faults?
These are all recorded faults that have happened within this car, yeah.
Wow.
At some point.
What a story.
Yeah. So as you can see here, these ones are greyed out. So these are not. So these faults are not happening right at this second. Whereas you can see with these two, with the two fog lights, these have got faults, so we'll just double check those and make sure that they're working okay. So yeah, we just had a quick look at the fog lights, so these are non-genuine fog lights. They might be from a later version, the 997 Gen 2. But what happens is it doesn't, the front end control unit doesn't receive the signal back that the fog light is working correctly. So yeah, it just puts a fault in the system. Yeah, what I'm doing now is I'm just giving the tyres a visual safety inspection, just to make sure that there's no damage to the tyre, no punctures. Just checking the play in all the ball joints, and I've noticed that there's some side-to-side play in this wheel. So yeah, we'll have to have a good old look at that and see what's wrong with that one. Another little thing is just a wheel arch liner that's broke here on the driver's side front.
Put that on the list. It's expensive, this cheap car, isn't it?
So this is another area that is quite prone to the coolant pipe splitting. This is towards the front of the vehicle on the driver's side. Again, it's just where water just sort of gets inside and then it just corrodes and then expands out.
See, all the air-cooled purists watching this now going, see, told you so.
Some slight corrosion here to the brake pipe, but it's not excessive. I don't think it's down as an MOT failure. Yeah, so we're just having another look at this broken under tray, and it does look as though someone's tried to repair it before in this area here, but this is the part that we spotted earlier.
Gaff tape. That's what it needs. I think we'll have to order that to make it right, don't you think?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I took the cover off, and it has corroded away, and so yeah, that's going to want ideally replacing.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, so these are the ignition coils here. So you have 12 volts that come down here, and then this changes the voltage for the spark plug. As you can see here, there's a very, very slight crack in this one. And then if you look just a little bit further down there, you can just see there's a slight crack in that one. And because of where they're sat, you get water in there, and then it starts shorting out, and then creates a misfire. Clamp's just starting to lose its tension over time, but the studs look okay. Yeah, I've been more bothered about this one that we spotted earlier.
I think it's just an excuse to put a massive stainless exhaust on it. Am I still allowed in the Porsche Classic if I've got a non-standard exhaust?
Yeah, of course.
Another advantage of being at a Porsche OPC, of course, is the fact that whatever parts you need, chances are, if it's a common car like the 997 and not too far out of date, they'll probably have them on the shelf. The service parts is a given. But the things that really surprised me was things like the coil cover, actually you could just go to the parts department and get, and 5 minutes later, it was there. That's the joy. So this 997 Carrera Tiptronic had a really good service history, but I think it was ready for an oil change looking at the colour of that. But what condition would the filter be in? Something you always want to check. After piling through each of the leaves of the filter with not a single metal fragment inside, that was a relief. Obviously had an easy life. So a clean, a new O-ring, back together. Everything has been torqued, of course, to perfection, as you might expect from a race technician like Ashley. And it's a joy to know that the next 6,000 miles or so, things will be great. And look at that new coil cover. Isn't it nice to use genuine parts that will cost a lot less than you think and will come to the cost at the end, that fit perfectly? That to me is always the joy of fitting genuine. Even if you do pay a tiny bit more, it's always worth the extra. And in the case of Classic, chances are it's going to be the same as some patent parts in a lot of cases.
So what we're testing here is the strength of the antifreeze that's currently in the car. Ideally you want 3 discs floating, so this antifreeze is good down to minus 23 degrees C.
It's right for the British summer.
So yeah, that's a perfect mix of water and antifreeze in that, which is good.
Well, that's at least one part of the cooling system that's in good shape. A few pints of the good stuff in the sump. Mobile One. Haven't used that for a while. Before Ashley fires her up to let the level sit so we can take a reading. Now on to the cabin filter, which looking at the bills hasn't been changed for a little while. Once you've taken the scuttle cover and the side trim off, it's just a simple case of removing these 2 screws. The old panel comes out, and as you can see, that's full of leaves and debris in there. I think she was ready, And I don't care how old you are, there's nothing as exciting as taking brand new parts out of a genuine Porsche box. Nothing quite like it. That's an easy fit back in. Then we're back onto the rest of the service. Looking through some of the invoices, the brakes had worried me a little bit. They had a cheaper refurb a few months ago. And one of the things he wanted to do was to change the brake fluid. Of course, to do that, we need to remove the bleed nipples, or at least loosen the bleed nipples in the calipers. But as you can see, Ashley, what you're feeling now, what's your...
Yeah, it's gone.
It broke.
Yeah, this one's going to snap as well.
At least it makes it worth taking the caliper off.
Yeah,
that pinged as well?
Yeah, that one's gone as well. Yeah, that one's gone. Okay, yep, so we've come to do the brake fluid change, and unfortunately the brake bleed nipples are seized. As you can see, there's lots of corrosion around the top of where the caliper meets the nipple there. This is a fairly common problem, but what we're going to do is we're going to drill out the seized part inside the caliper. We're going to re-tap it, and then we're going to put these nice new bleed nipples in as a replacement.
So in the end, we lost 6 of the 8 bleed nipples. The reason being, upon inspection, is that there were cheaper Chinese nipples that had been put into the calipers during the brake refurb. So it's a case of getting those old calipers off, getting them into the machine shop, which is actually on site at Porsche Nottingham, before we drill out the old cheap ones. We'll try to actually turn them out first, and then we drill them. Get very carefully to the edge. This took a lot of time. We've really speeded this section up. And these are the new, correct, OEM perfect Brembo bleed nipples. They should be a lot better than the Chinese ones that we've taken out. A tap and a clean up to get perfect threads. And what you're left with is this. Beautiful, clean threads. Times 8, this had to be done. Obviously, a thorough clean of the caliper to make sure there's no detritus. And you can see Chinese on the left, Italian on the right. That's the way to do it. Proper Brembo parts for German cars. Nice and easy to thread in, and of course once that's in, we've checked it's the right fit, we can put the dust covers on and she's ready to be repeated for another 7 goes, and then fitted to the car, new fluid and bled up, which only left the rear light to change. Had a chip on from the beginning. I reckon either someone's caught it when they've been vigorously washing it, or someone's tried to remove it in the past and caught it if they've pulled it out. Again, use genuine parts. They are so much cheaper in the long run. It's just a case of removing the plug, unpacking the light. And these aren't expensive. I think these are around 300 quid at retail, these parts. Swap the bulb holders over, pop them in. And of course, being a genuine light, they fit back in seconds. A satisfying click gets that in. And once that's home, 2 screws on the end, a gentle check, a quick tighten, and then that's it. Hopefully to last another 21 years. Looks much better, doesn't it? I was thinking of aftermarket, but I'm glad I went for OE. And there you go. So I left the car there for a few days to give the lads a chance to get the calipers done. But before you knew it, it was time to pick it up. But what did it cost? Well, that service is discounted from £12.85 to £4.73 plus VAT. The extra parts were £85. The extra work was £3.92 plus VAT. So all in all, with VAT on, I've spent 1,200 quid. So that's a lesson well learned then. If you have an older Porsche and you want it to be looked after by people that have been factory trained, have access to all the right tools, and dare I say, probably work in one of the nicest workshops that I've ever been into, I would say go and chat to your local Porsche centre. Now, the Porsche Classic scheme isn't for every single car. The cars have to become eligible. Generally speaking, they have to be 10 years out of production. And it is in some cases at the discretion of the parts and service department. But have a word, go and chat up your local parts manager. Go and make friends with your local service manager. If you can get onto one of these Porsche schemes, and the labour rates do vary from dealer to dealer, the prices vary from dealer to dealer. They're all at the discretion of what they want to do. But I think it's a very, very clever way of encouraging the older cars back into the showroom. Because when you're here, the coffee's nice, the tea's nice, the welcome's wonderful. You're surrounded by approved used cars and things that you might like to own instead or as well as the car that you came in. And for that reason, it's a very, very clever bit of marketing. And you, the owner, get to have your car looked after by the best in the business for not much more or exactly the same as a really great specialist. But thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe, ring that bell, and I'll see you for more of this next time.